The salmon was overcooked, but I didn't mention it. My mother had spent 3 hours preparing this family dinner, and criticizing the food would only add fuel to a fire that was already burning pretty hot. My sister Rachel was on her 4th glass of wine, gesturing wildly as she talked about her company's upcoming initial public offering. "The valuation is incredible," she said, her voice getting louder with each word. "We're looking at 800 million, possibly breaking $1 billion depending on investor interest. Goldman Sachs is lead underwriter. Morgan Stanley came begging to be involved. This is the kind of deal that defines careers." "We're so proud of you, sweetheart," my father said, beaming at her from across the table. Robert Chin had always favored Rachel, his firstborn, his golden child, his perfect daughter who'd done everything right. Stanford MBA, 5 years at McKinsey, then founding her own fintech startup that had somehow caught fire in the venture capital world. "It's really impressive, Rachel," I said genuinely. "You've worked hard for this." She turned to look at me, and there was something in her expression I didn't like. Something contemptuous and sharp. "Thanks, Maya. I'm sure you understand about 10% of what I just said, but I appreciate the sentiment." I took a sip of water and said nothing. "Rachel, don't be rude," my mother said, but she was smiling as she said it. Linda Chin had a way of correcting her children that made it clear which corrections were real and which were performative. This was definitely the latter. "I'm not being rude, Mom. I'm being realistic." Rachel refilled her wine glass, sloshing a little on the white tablecloth. "Maya runs a cute little online shop. She sells jewelry or candles or whatever. It's nice. It's a hobby. But it's not the same as building a real company. A scalable company. The kind of company that goes public and creates actual wealth." "I sell artisan goods from independent creators," I said mildly. "Jewelry, yes. Also pottery, textiles, art prints, handmade furniture. It's a curated marketplace." "Right. Etsy, but with pretensions." Rachel laughed, looking to our parents for support. They both chuckled obligingly. "Look, I'm not trying to insult you. I think it's great that you have a little business. Keeps you occupied. Gives you something to do. But let's not pretend it's in the same category as what I'm doing. I'm disrupting an entire industry. I'm creating technology that will fundamentally change how people interact with financial services. You're selling hippie crafts." My father nodded seriously. "Rachel's right, Maya. What she's built is extraordinary. Enterprise-level software, institutional clients, venture capital funding. That's real business. That's the kind of thing that makes a difference in the world." "Your online shop is fine for what it is," my mother added, in the tone she might use to praise a child's finger painting. "But it's not exactly in the same league." I cut another piece of salmon, chewing slowly while I considered my options. I could end this conversation right now. I could tell them the truth. But something stopped me, the same thing that had been stopping me for 3 years. Curiosity maybe. Or perhaps a desire to see how far they'd push it. "I'm happy with what I do," I said simply. "That's the problem," Rachel said, leaning forward. Her eyes were bright with wine and something else. Malice maybe, or just the casual cruelty that came easily to her. "You're too happy. You're too comfortable. You're 34 years old, Maya. When are you going to have ambition? When are you going to want something more than just getting by?" "I'm not just getting by." "Really? Because from where I'm sitting, you're living in a rent-controlled apartment in the old district, driving a 10-year-old Subaru, and running a website that probably generates what, 50,000 a year in revenue? Maybe 100,000 if you're lucky?" "Something like that," I said, which was technically true if you ignored several zeros. "Exactly my point. I'm building something that's going to be worth $1 billion. My personal stake will be worth at least $300 million after the IPO. $300 million, Maya. And you're excited about your little online shop that might clear 6 figures." She shook her head, a gesture of pity that made my jaw tighten. "It's just sad. You had the same opportunities one did. Same education, same parents, same advantages. But you chose to play it safe. You chose small." "I chose what made me happy," I said. "Happiness doesn't build wealth," my father interjected. "Rachel understands that. She's willing to work 16-hour days, to sacrifice, to push herself. That's what separates successful people from people who are just comfortable." The implication was clear. Rachel was successful. I was just comfortable. Rachel was building something real. I was playing at business. "The IPO is next month," Rachel continued, apparently not done with her lecture. We're pricing at $42 per share. The roadshow starts in 2 weeks. I'll be in New York, Boston, San Francisco meeting with institutional investors. This is the culmination of 7 years of work. 7 years of 80-hour weeks, endless pitches, constant stress. But it's worth it. Because I'm not settling for comfortable. I'm not settling for small. We should toast, my mother said, raising her wine glass. To Rachel and her incredible success. We all raised our glasses. I noticed my parents didn't toast to both their daughters, just to Rachel. Just to the success story. The comfortable one didn't merit celebration. You know what you should do, Maya? Rachel said after we'd drunk. You should sell your little shop. Take whatever money you can get for it. Probably not much, but maybe someone would buy the domain name and customer list. Then you should get a real job. I might be able to help you. Once we're public, we'll be expanding our marketing department. I could probably get you an entry-level position. It wouldn't pay much, maybe $60,000 to start, but it would be a real career. Real benefits. Real growth potential. That's a wonderful idea, my mother said enthusiastically. Maya, you should seriously consider it. Working for Rachel's company would be such an opportunity. An entry-level marketing position, I repeated carefully. Everyone has to start somewhere, Rachel said. I know you're probably used to being your own boss, making your own hours, all that freelancer flexibility. But that's not how real companies work. You'd need to be in the office 9 to 6 minimum. You'd need to report to a manager. You'd need to actually perform and meet metrics. It would be an adjustment, but it might be good for you. Teach you some discipline. I appreciate the offer, I said. Think about it seriously, my father urged. Rachel's giving you a chance here. A chance to be part of something big. Don't let pride get in the way of a good opportunity. Pride has nothing to do with it, Dad. Doesn't it? Rachel leaned back in her chair, studying me with that same contemptuous expression. I think you're embarrassed, Maya. I think you're embarrassed that your little online shop isn't impressive, so you're clinging to it because admitting failure would hurt your ego. But here's the thing. It's not failure to recognize your limitations. It's maturity. You tried the entrepreneur thing and it's fine for what it is, but it's not a real business. Just admit that and move on. Rachel, that's a bit harsh, my mother said, but again her tone suggested she didn't really disagree. I'm being honest. Someone needs to be. Rachel finished her wine and reached for the bottle again. Maya's been playing businesswoman for how long now? 5 years. 6. And what does she have to show for it? A website. Some inventory. Maybe a couple thousand customers. That's not a business, that's a hobby that makes a little money. Meanwhile, I've built a company with 300 employees, 40 million in revenue, and investment from some of the most prestigious VC firms in the country. See the difference? I see it, I said quietly. Do you? Because I'm not sure you do. I'm not sure you understand what real success looks like. She was slurring slightly now, the wine catching up with her. You know what the difference is between you and me? Ambition. Vision. I saw an opportunity in the market and I seized it. I built something from nothing. I worked my ass off while you were selling handmade macrame plant hangers or whatever the hell you sell. Rachel, language, my father said mildly. Sorry, Dad. But I'm just frustrated. Maya could have been something. He's smart enough. She went to Berkeley, got a good degree in business economics. But then she just gave up. Started this little online boutique thing and called it entrepreneurship. And now she's 34 with nothing to show for it. I have something to show for it, I said. What? The website. Congratulations. I have a platform that processes $2 billion in transactions annually. I have technology that's patent protected. I have a cap table that includes Sequoia, Andreessen Horowitz and Peter Thiel. What do you have? I could have answered. I could have ended it right there. But I was curious now. I wanted to see how far she'd go. I have a business I'm proud of, I said. Rachel laughed, an ugly sound. Proud. Great. You're proud. But pride doesn't pay bills, Maya. Pride doesn't build wealth. Pride doesn't create a legacy. You want to know what creates a legacy? What I'm doing. Taking a company public, creating shareholder value, building something that will outlast me. That's a legacy. Your online shop? That's a footnote. My mother reached over and patted my hand sympathetically. We just want you to have security, sweetheart. Financial security. Rachel's going to have that after the IPO. She'll never have to worry about money again. We worry about you. What happens if your shop fails? What happens when you're 50 and still selling crafts online? I'll be fine, Mom. Will you though? My father asked. You're not getting any younger, Maya. You don't have a husband, you don't have children, you don't have a retirement plan that we're aware of. At some point you need to think about the future. About stability. I think about the future all the time. Then think about Rachel's offer, he pressed. A real job with a real company. Benefits, 401k matching, stock options once the company goes public. That's stability. That's a future. Rachel was nodding, her expression having shifted from contemptuous to something that might have been genuine concern if I didn't know her better. I'm serious about the offer, Maya. I can make it happen. You'd have to start at the bottom. I can't just give you a senior position, that wouldn't be fair to people who've worked their way up. But you could grow with the company. In 5 years you might be a marketing manager. In 10 years, who knows? Director of something. That's a real career path. Versus selling pottery online, my mother added, which has no career path at all. I finished my salmon and set down my fork. Can I ask you something, Rachel? Sure. The IPO. You said it's next month. 4 weeks from today. Why? And Goldman Sachs is the lead underwriter? Yes. She looked suspicious suddenly. How do you know about lead underwriters? I know some things about business, I said mildly. And Morgan Stanley is involved too? Co-manager. Along with JP Morgan. It's a big syndicate. We wanted major banks backing this. She narrowed her eyes. Why are you asking? Just curious. And you said your valuation is around 800 million. Target is 800, could go higher depending on demand. Maya, what's this about? Nothing. Just interested in your success. I smiled. It sounds very impressive. It is impressive, my father said firmly. Rachel's accomplished something extraordinary. We're very proud. You should be, I agreed. The rest of dinner passed in similar fashion. Rachel talked more about her company, the technology, the market opportunity, the competitive advantages. My parents asked her questions and hung on every answer. I ate my overcooked salmon and undercooked vegetables and said very little. When I finally left around 9:30, Rachel walked me to the door. She was steadier now, the wine wearing off. I meant what I said about the job, she told me. I know I was harsh at dinner, but I do want to help you. You're my sister. I don't like seeing you struggle. I'm not struggling, Rachel. You're 34 years old selling crafts online. That's struggling even if you won't admit it. She put her hand on my arm, her expression earnest. Take the job. Please. Let me help you have a real career. Let me help you be successful. I'll think about it, I lied. Don't think too long. The offer expires after the IPO. Once we're public, I won't have the same latitude to bring people in. I drove home to my rent-controlled apartment in my 10-year-old Subaru, thinking about the evening. Thinking about how easy it had been for them to dismiss me. How readily they'd accepted the narrative that I was a failure, that my business was a joke, that I needed rescuing. The next morning I was in my home office, a converted second bedroom with windows overlooking the street, when my phone rang. Unknown number from New York. This is Maya Chin, I answered. Miss Chin, this is David Rothstein from Goldman Sachs. I apologize for calling so early. Do you have a few minutes to discuss an urgent matter? Of course. It's regarding the IPO for Apex Financial Technologies. Your sister's company. I said, nothing, waiting. I'm the managing director handling the offering, David continued. We've been in the due diligence phase and something has come to our attention that's creating a significant problem. According to our records, you own a substantial equity stake in Apex. A very substantial stake. Do I? I kept my voice neutral. According to the cap table, yes. 25% of the company, which would be worth approximately $200 million at our target valuation. He paused. Miss Chen, this is going to sound strange, but your sister seems to be unaware of your ownership position. In fact, she's told us repeatedly that she's the sole founder and majority shareholder. That's interesting, I said. Miss Chen, I need to be direct with you. We cannot proceed with this IPO without your approval and signature on a number of documents. As a major shareholder, you have rights that must be respected. Your sister has been, let's say, resistant to acknowledging this situation. But the SEC requires full disclosure of all significant shareholders. We need your cooperation. I see. Additionally, there's the matter of your lockup agreement. As a major shareholder, you'll be restricted from selling your shares for 180 days after the IPO. This is standard, but you need to sign off on it. And we need your biographical information for the S-1 filing, the prospectus that goes to investors. Your name, your background, your relationship to the company. Mr. Rothstein, can I ask you something? Of course. Did my sister really tell you she was the sole founder? A long pause. She described herself as the founder and CEO. When we pressed her on the cap table and asked about other significant shareholders, she became defensive. She insisted that there were various early investors but no one with a significant stake aside from the VCs and herself. But the cap table shows otherwise. The cap table shows you own 25%, Ms. Chen, which means you were either a co-founder or a very early investor. Can you help me understand the history here? I leaned back in my chair looking out the window at the morning traffic. Rachel came to me 7 years ago with a business plan. She'd left McKinsey and wanted to start a fintech company but needed capital. I provided $2 million in seed funding in exchange for 50% equity. 50%? That was the original deal. Over the years, as she brought in VC funding, my stake was diluted to 25%. Which was fine. That was always the understanding. The company needed capital to grow, and I was willing to accept dilution as long as the absolute value kept increasing. And you're listed as a co-founder? That was the original paperwork, yes. Though Rachel always preferred to present herself as the sole founder. I didn't mind. I'm not interested in being the public face of anything. I'm a silent partner. A silent partner with $200 million at stake, David said carefully. Ms. Chen, I need to ask, are you willing to cooperate with this IPO? Because without your signature and approval we cannot proceed. I'm willing to cooperate, but I need to understand something first. Did my sister tell you about me at all? Did she mention she had a sister who was an early investor? Another pause. She mentioned she had a sister. She did not mention that her sister was a major shareholder in the company. Did she mention what her sister does for a living? She said, let me check my notes. She said you ran a small online retail business. Handmade goods, something like that. That's accurate, I said. Did she say anything else about me? Nothing specific. Ms. Chen, can I be frank with you? Please. Your sister seems to have been under the impression that she could proceed with this IPO without your involvement. She's been shocked and, frankly, quite upset to learn that you have approval rights over major corporate decisions, including the IPO itself. She's currently in a conference room with her CFO and general counsel trying to figure out how to handle this situation. I'm sure she is, I said quietly. Ms. Chen, I need your answer. Will you cooperate with this offering? Will you sign the necessary documents? Because if you won't, this IPO is dead in the water. And a lot of people, your sister included, will be very unhappy. I thought about the previous evening. About Rachel's contempt. About my parents' dismissal. About being told I should get an entry-level job at my own company. I'll cooperate, I said. Under certain conditions. What conditions? First, I want the full story in the prospectus. I'm not listed as a minor investor or a passive shareholder. The S-1 needs to clearly state that I'm a co-founder and major shareholder who provided the initial seed capital. Done. That's actually required by law. We can't hide major shareholders. Second, I want a seat on the board of directors post-IPO. That's reasonable for someone with your stake. I'm sure we can arrange it. Third, I want my equity stake protected. No forced buyouts, no dilution without my approval, no attempts to minimize my ownership. All standard protections for a shareholder of your size. Anything else? One more thing. I want to be at the next board meeting. The one where Rachel explains to the directors why she forgot to mention that her sister owns 25% of the company. David was quiet for a moment. Ms. Chen, are you and your sister not on good terms? We're on excellent terms, I said. She offered me a job just last night. Entry-level position in marketing. Very generous of her. Oh. A long pause. Oh. I see. Do you? I'm beginning to. Miss Chen, I'll have my team send you the documents. But I should warn you, your sister is going to have to call you. She needs you to cooperate, and I think she's just realizing how badly she needs you. I'm sure she'll figure it out, I said. We hung up. I went back to my computer, back to the little online shop that my family found so amusing. The shop that was actually the public-facing element of a larger e-commerce platform I'd built over 10 years. The platform that currently operated in 12 countries had 15 million registered users and generated 300 million in annual revenue. But they didn't need to know that yet. My phone rang again at 10:30. Rachel's number. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Hey Rachel. Why? Her voice was strained. We need to talk. Sure. What about? About Apex. About the IPO. Maya, did Goldman Sachs call you? They did. And did they explain the situation? They mentioned something about me being a shareholder. Was that what you wanted to talk about? Silence. Then, why didn't you tell me they were going to call? I didn't know they were going to call. I assumed they found my information on the cap table. You know what I mean. Why didn't you tell me you were going to be a problem? I'm not a problem, Rachel. I'm a co-founder and major shareholder. That's different. Co-founder. She said it like it tasted bad. Maya, we need to get our story straight. The investment bankers are asking questions. The lawyers are asking questions. I need you to work with me here. What story did you want to tell? The truth. That you provided some early capital, that I built the company, that you've been a passive investor. Some early capital, I repeated. Rachel, I gave you $2 million. That was all my money. Everything I'd made from selling my first company. Your first company? He sounded confused. You mean your online shop? No. My first company. The one I sold when I was 28 for $8 million. The software platform I built in my early 20s. The one that provided the capital I invested in your startup. The silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. Why? Rachel's voice was very small now. What are you talking about? You never asked, Rachel. You needed money to start Apex and I had money. You assumed I'd gotten lucky somehow, maybe had a rich boyfriend or inherited it. You never asked where the 2 million came from. You just took it. But you sell pottery online. Candles. Hippie crafts. I own a curated marketplace platform called Artisan Collective, I said calmly. It's one element of a larger e-commerce ecosystem I've built. We operate in 12 countries. 15 million users. 300 million in annual revenue. The little online shop you've been making fun of is a billion-dollar business, Rachel. We've been planning our own IPO for next year. That's impossible. It's very possible. I've been building it for 10 years. I'm just quiet about it. I don't like publicity. I don't like being the center of attention. I like running my business and living my life without fanfare. 300 million in revenue? She sounded dazed. Give or take. Last year was 270, this year we're on track for 320. I've been approached by Amazon and Alibaba about acquisition, but I'm not interested in selling. I like running my own company. But you drive a Subaru. I like my Subaru. It's reliable. And you live in that apartment. I own the building actually. Bought it 6 years ago as an investment property. I live in one unit and rent out the others. It's good cash flow. Rachel made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. You let us think you were a failure. You never asked if I was successful. You assumed I was a failure and I let you keep assuming it. Why? Because I wanted to see what you'd do. How you'd treat me. Whether you'd be kind or cruel. I paused. You chose cruel, Rachel. You, Mom and Dad. You all chose cruel. Maya, I'm sorry. I didn't know. You didn't want to know. There's a difference. You wanted me to be a failure because it made you feel superior. It made your success mean more if I had less. That's not true. It is true. And now you need something from me. You need my signature. My approval. My cooperation. Because without it, your IPO doesn't happen. Your $300 million payday disappears. All those years of work mean nothing if I don't sign the documents. Maya, please. I'm going to sign them, Rachel. I'm going to cooperate. Because I'm not cruel like you are. But I want you to understand something first. What? You offered me an entry-level job at my own company. You told me I needed to learn discipline. You said my business was a hobby that makes a little money. You said I'd chosen small. My voice was steady, calm. I want you to remember that. I want you to remember every word you said to me at dinner. And then I want you to think about what kind of person says those things to their sister. I was drunk. I didn't mean. You meant every word. The wine just made you honest. He was crying now. What do you want from me? Nothing, I said. I don't want anything from you, Rachel. I'm going to sign your documents because it's the right thing to do. Because I invested in your company and I want to see you succeed. But I don't want your apology. I don't want your guilt. I just want you to know that I see you. I see exactly who you are. Maya. I hung up. 20 minutes later my mother called. Then my father. I didn't answer either call. The documents arrived from Goldman Sachs that afternoon. Digital copies via secure email. I reviewed them carefully, had my own lawyer look them over and signed everything. I sent them back within 3 hours. David Rothstein called to confirm receipt. Thank you, Ms. Chin. I have to say your cooperation is much appreciated. And your discretion. I understand this is a complicated family situation. It's not complicated, I said. It's actually very simple. The next day Rachel sent a long email. She apologized for the things she'd said at dinner. She apologized for not asking about my business. She apologized for assuming I was a failure. She asked if we could really talk about everything. I didn't respond. My parents sent their own emails. They were shocked, they said. They'd had no idea. They'd always assumed my business was just a small online shop. Why hadn't I told them? Why had I let them believe something untrue? I didn't respond to those either. The IPO happened 4 weeks later, right on schedule. Apex Financial Technologies went public at $42 per share, and by the end of the first day of trading, the stock had climbed to $58. The company was suddenly worth over $1 billion. Rachel's personal stake was worth $400 million. Mine was worth $250 million. I didn't attend the opening bell ceremony at NASDAQ. I watched it on live stream from my office while responding to emails about our own company's expansion into the European market. Rachel looked radiant on the screen, surrounded by her team, her investors, her board of directors. She rang the bell and everyone cheered and champagne appeared and it all looked exactly the way these things are supposed to look. No one mentioned the co-founder who wasn't there. The major shareholder who'd provided the seed capital that made everything possible. The sister who'd been invisible because she preferred it that way. 2 weeks after the IPO, Rachel showed up at my apartment. I saw her through the window, pacing on the sidewalk, working up the courage to ring the bell. I watched her for 5 minutes before I went downstairs. Hi, she said. She looked tired. Can we talk? I don't think there's much to say. There's a lot to say. Please, Maya. Please let me explain. I didn't invite her in, but I sat down on the front steps. He sat next to me. I was jealous, she said quietly. My whole life you were the smart one. The creative one. The one who made things look easy. I worked so hard for everything. Perfect grades, perfect resume, perfect career path. And you just existed. And succeeded anyway. That's not true, I said. I worked hard too. You just never noticed. I know. I see that now. He was crying. When Goldman called me and said you own 25%, I thought there'd been a mistake. And then when they explained the cap table, explained that you'd provided the seed funding, I couldn't understand where you'd gotten $2 million. It didn't make sense. You could have asked me. I should have asked you. 7 years ago when you handed me that check, I should have asked where the money came from. But I didn't want to know. I wanted to believe I was special. That I was the successful one. That I was better than you. You are successful, Rachel. You built a real company. You should be proud. But I built it with your money. And I built it by pretending you didn't exist. The whole time I told everyone I was a solo founder. I told investors, I told employees, I told journalists. I erased you from the story because I wanted it to be my story alone. I know. And now everyone knows the truth. It's in the S1 filing, it's in every article about the IPO. Co-founded with her sister Maya Chin, who provided initial seed funding. Everyone's asking who you are. What your background is. And I don't know what to tell them because I don't know you. I don't know my own sister. We sat in silence for a while. Cars passed. A dog barked somewhere down the street. I have a board meeting next month, Rachel said finally. Directors want to meet you. Want to understand your vision for the company going forward. I don't have a vision for the company. It's your company, Rachel. You built it. You run it. I was just early capital. You're more than that. You're a co-founder. A major shareholder. You have rights. You have a voice. I don't want a voice. I want you to succeed. Why? After everything I said, everything I did, why would you want me to succeed? Because you're my sister, I said simply. And because I'm not like you. I don't need you to fail for me to feel successful. She flinched like I'd hit her. That's what I did, isn't it? I needed you to fail. Yes. I'm sorry. She was sobbing now. I'm so sorry, Maya. I'm sorry for everything I said at dinner. I'm sorry for not asking about your life. I'm sorry for assuming the worst. I'm sorry for being cruel. I know you are. Can you forgive me? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe eventually. But not today. What can I do? Nothing. Just be better. Be kinder. Stop assuming you know everything about everyone. Stop needing to be the only successful person in the room. She nodded, wiping her eyes. Mom and Dad want to talk to you too. I'm sure they do. They feel terrible. They should. Rachel stood up slowly. I'm going to do better, Maya. I promise. I'm going to be the sister you deserved all along. We'll see, I said. She left. I went back inside, back to my office, back to my little online shop that was worth more than Rachel's company and had been built without anyone's approval or validation or support. My phone buzzed. Email from my CFO with the latest revenue numbers. We were having our best quarter yet. The European expansion was exceeding projections. 2 more countries were launching next month. I smiled and got back to work. Because that's the thing Rachel never understood. I didn't need the IPO. I didn't need the public validation, the press coverage, the dramatic NASDAQ ceremony. I didn't need any of it. I just needed to build something I was proud of. Something that mattered. Something that was mine. And I'd done that. Quietly. Successfully. Without anyone's permission. The IPO money would be nice. $250 million would open up new investment opportunities, new expansion possibilities. But it wouldn't change who I was or what I'd built. I was already successful. I'd been successful for years. Rachel was just figuring that out now. And my parents? They'd sent another email that morning. They wanted to have lunch. They wanted to celebrate my success. They wanted to understand my business. I'd respond eventually. Maybe. When I felt like it. But for now I had work to do. Real work. Building something real. Not for them. For me. Because that's what success actually looks like. Doing what you love, building what matters to you, and not caring whether anyone else understands it or approves of it or even knows about it. Rachel had her IPO and her billion-dollar valuation and her press coverage. I had something better. I had peace.